All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
Yeah. Talk to us about the book, because you've gone through the work and these perfectly careless things. Congratulations, by the way. Yes. Talk to us a little bit about the novel.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the novel is set in London, as I was telling you earlier, and it follows the story of Abby Chesterton. That she's 15 years old and she wants to become an artist, but she's from a very stuffy and stuck-up English family. So basically, she's also part of this the cool crowd, in these teenagers in London. And she goes to a house party and she meets a very kind of enigmatic and philosophical guy called Jonah Wood. And Jonah is the person who inspires her to pursue her creative goals. She applies to transfer to his school. Because he's got a very good art program at his school. So basically it's their love story going around London, and you get to see all the ways that she develops as a character in terms of her artistic ability, but also you're with her in her most intimate moments. So again, I have not shied away from any of the female experience in this book. So you will get, periods and first time and, all those kinds of really, really intimate moments, and also taking a pregnancy test in the Starbucks bathroom. So you get to see this character through all her most intimate aspects of her life. Mm-hmm. And you have to keep reading towards the end to see what happens with their relationship. Do they end up together, or do they go separate ways? So, yes.
Love that. Is this part one of part two, or a trilogy, or are there more?
Well, I'm now also working on a second book. It is a summer love story set in California. And I have gone back and forth about whether this is part of the series or what, but I've settled on the fact that the characters are actually going to be connected. So the same exact set of characters, but one of Abby's friends will be the main character of the second novel. So you kind of have a bit of a sense of continuity for the people who know. But then the people who don't know can just pick up the second novel and read it as a standalone as well. So it's beautiful, and it's centered on going to this lake in California, where there's no internet and it's just beautiful pine trees, etc. So it's focused on their love story, and then they have this beautiful whirlwind romance for the first half of the book, and then in the second half of the book, you get to see whether 5 years later, if a summer romance can still last. And basically, I try to answer the question, is love enough? So that's book number 2.
Congratulations.
I see mini series movies.
Yeah. It's honestly really fun. And I write a lot of other nonfiction posts on my blog around sexuality or my life or whatever. But writing this kind of fiction is just it's beautiful and it's easy for me, and I really enjoy doing it. So
So this was what you were writing when you were 14. So stories like this.
Yes. Well, that was the main book that's already been published at this point. So now I've now been harboring these new ideas for books for a couple of years. And then by the time you've had a book idea for 3 years, you just think, gosh, better sit down and write the thing.
Birth it. It's time to go. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's just do it.
That's what I've been doing.
Do you know by chance how many books are within you? Have you done that work?
Oh my God. Well, I know at least 3 more.
Okay.
That's kind of challenging, because then you're it takes a lot of time and effort to write a book, whereas I could pump out an article, in 5 hours, and it's on the internet, people could read it and engage with it. So it's not just, it's a real labor of love, I think, but I'm hoping to get it done, hopefully sometime this year, but we'll see. We'll see when it comes out. So
Love that.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah. So the podcast is called Miseducated, and it's also the blog. So I write on that every week, and these days I'm doing voiceovers as well. So a lot of the podcast episodes are you can just listen along to an article that I've written. But it started out about 6, 7 years ago, and I started with birth control stories. So I shared my own birth control story and how I found like the hormonal IUD, which is the one that works for me. And I interviewed a lot of different women. And then as I developed that brand, I wanted to interview a lot of women who were in femtech, so like women's health tech companies. Okay. So, they're solving problems around like menopause or like, breast pumps or whatever it is, or like sexual wellness toys. So I continue to build those stories. And now it's basically anyone who kind of like catches my eye, who I want to like really get to know. My favorite person ever that I interviewed was Dr. Kristen Neff, who is the world leading expert on self-compassion based out of UT Austin. So she's like a big dog, in the world of psychology. So I was really grateful to interview her like about a year and a half ago now. But yeah, I basically just mostly focus on the audio aspect of my articles so people can engage by listening, with audio rather than reading if they prefer to listen instead of read. So
that's very cool.
Beautiful. And that's what you bring over to your Substack. Is that correct? Like that's where you house everything. Okay.
Yeah. It's all there. Yes. And the mission these days, I updated the mission recently, is to help the world be shamelessly sexy. Yep. So I focus a lot on helping people figure out what they want in terms of their sexuality, like what they, desire, believing that they deserve what they want, and then also asking for what they want. So those are the three components of what a shamelessly sexy life includes. So I'm currently building those teaching methodologies. And my last piece that I just wrote last week was called How to Keep a Sex Journal. So it's specifically focusing on journaling, about, reflecting on all of your previous like intimate experiences and what you learned from them, both what you liked and what you didn't like. And I'm hoping that that's a whole product line that I will be able to like also sell and launch at some point, so people can buy my like miseducated sex journal.
Yes. So, I love that, because I think it's one of those things that it's been so taboo, especially in the United States, to talk about that. Right. And it's just kind of one of those things. It's like, well, we just don't talk about that. So I love the idea of journaling about, what do I like? What do I not like? Because if you can share that with somebody you're intimate with, it's going to be such a better experience for everybody.
Yeah, totally. Not just with your partner, but also for yourself.
For yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about it is I love writing, right? So it's a treat for me to be able to teach other people some of the beauty of writing. But it's such a personal and private thing to do. But my favorite aspect of like exploring my sexuality, though, is the idea that a lot of sexuality is kind of your inverted self, So I'm a very like independent, like feminist, out there woman, blah, blah, blah. But then in the bedroom, I'm like preferring to be like a sub, or like lose control, or like have someone tell me what to do. So it's like, and then I'm like, how can I even call myself a feminist if like this is who I am in the bedroom and this is who I am? It's like so in contrast with my real life,
Yeah.
So I basically just, I hope to provide the tools that help people feel more comfortable with those different aspects of our like more deviant natures, But I think it's a really beautiful topic and just something that I'm really excited to share with the world. So I want to continue to build that whole sex journaling tool set for people.
Awesome.
Love that. Awesome. How did you find yourself on this path? Because I guess growing up in London, not so much, but if I think like growing up in England, very conservative, very reserved, not a lot of room for expression. London may be the one city in the UK that's kind of like, okay, except here. How did you find yourself on this journey?
Yeah, well, I think moving to America was a really big part of it, actually, because Americans are so much louder and take up space and they eat triple cheese hamburgers. And, so I think moving to America really helped me to embrace those parts of myself that had been kind of like suppressed in English culture. But you make a really good point, because I was having all these thoughts. I felt really alone as well during a lot of my experiences, like getting birth control for the first time. And I just thought, God, I don't know if I want to live in a culture where I can't talk about these things. And I think things have evolved a little bit, like talking about periods is much more common these days, but there's still a lot of like taboos around these issues.
But barely, kind of. I mean, like that's stretched for in some spaces, but yes, we are making progress there. Yes,
a little bit.
But I think honestly, it's about also kind of giving the finger to the system in a weird way, because ultimately, I think women, especially in my family, as of 3 generations ago, didn't go to university or maybe never had the ability to say the things that, they wanted to say. So I feel a lot of like, I guess, I don't know, honor and privilege to be able to, number one, have the education that I have, and again, the access to resources where I can fund my own lifestyle, doing consulting projects for remote companies or whatever, but then use my voice to, I don't know, help other women feel more seen or explore parts of themselves that are like more fun. Anyway.
I love that. I love that. Well, that's as you talk about like three generations, that's such an, again, it pulls up for me. My mom, not with us currently, and she's passed, but I just remember when I was a young girl, very reserved household, very strong religious upbringing. And I remember her like it was not allowed to wear red nail polish or red lipstick. Okay, so let's take it very basic because those were the things that only a Jezebel would wear. And those were the exact words. Like, and so here I am,
Jezebel.
like 10 years old, and I'm like, I can't wear red nail polish because I'm not a Jezebel. Like, who says that?
Wow.
So like when you like creating this space as you talk about, like where we can just freely discuss the things that we naturally go through and experience and want to experience in life.
Yeah. And I'm writing about that, for example, I think reflecting on like the red lipstick and red nail polish situation. So interesting, right? Like there's a lot that you could explore there for yourself. Just be like, hey, what do I actually think about this? Now when I see, Michelle Obama wearing like red nail polish, am I judging the heck out of her or not? Like
exactly.
And it's kind of interesting, I think, in that sense to be able to explore those topics. But yeah, I mean, my mom hasn't read my book and I don't know if she ever will. But my grandma is actually really, really open-minded, and I talk to my grandma about these things all the time. So that's great because she's like 87, and again,
awesome.
who knows how much longer she'll be around. As much as I love her, so I do really enjoy talking about these topics with my grandma a lot.
Yeah, well, and I love that you. I mean, like menopause. I mean, just now they're starting to talk more about it. Yeah. It's just been like one of those things that you just don't talk about that. And I was at dinner with two of my girlfriends, and that's what we talked about the whole. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in that space in my life where this is what we talk about. We're not talking about boys anymore. We're talking about menopause and like, oh yeah, you got to use this cream, and here I'll give you this lady's name. And I was like, oh, this is hilarious.
Yeah. And I think amongst female friends, like we're definitely able to have more of those conversations now, which is super important.
Yes.
And yeah, I think basically I don't expect everyone to be able to like write openly about their sex life on the internet like I have. But what I'm gonna hopefully do as well is have more like anonymous surveys and polls and stuff that people can contribute to. So you can like still say like, oh, these were my experiences. Like I masturbate like 3 times a week or whatever. But then you can see over the 100 people or whatever that we surveyed, like what everyone else is doing with their masturbation techniques. So that's a whole report that I'm gonna start, hopefully at some point later this year. So I'm excited to kind of figure out because that's also bringing in my like data mind and my Wharton background into like analyzing stuff from a statistical perspective and making it fun with like emojis and stuff. Like I already have idea for the graphs and things that I want to create. So I'm just trying to, continue the projects that I'm excited about. It's going to be hopefully a good year.
Yeah, and make it more what's the word I'm looking for? Acceptable to talk about. Right. Exactly. I mean, America is very prude. Like we are very, like, we just don't talk about it. And I think that's what's unique about Europe is it's way more open over there than it is here. So I love that you're bringing it.
Well, hopefully people would be more likely to share like a statistic at dinner. They could be like, oh, well, did you hear, 50% of women really like this thing in the bedroom.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then you're like, oh, don't know where that came from. Asking for a friend, So I'm excited. I think that makes things more approachable too.
Oh, I think that's like you just slip a note to the guy you're dating, just so you know. 85% of women like this in the bedroom. I'm just saying. It's just statistics.
It's statistically speaking. You should
statistically speaking. Maybe we should explore that a little bit.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, there was a Substack that you shared that I'm intrigued on, and I'm just curious, and I would love to have you share it with our listeners. I think recently, I don't know the time frame, you hosted a nude party or a naked party.
Yes. This is one of my most popular articles. So this was actually in university in college. And I had heard I hosted it in like 2016, 2017, I think. So it's been a while now. But
Okay.
I had heard that the kids above me, you know, in older grades were the craziest, wildest college people ever. And I just thought, well, you know, we're still crazy today. We should do something crazy. So I decided to host a naked party with my housemate at the time. And word obviously like spread around the campus like very quickly.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I will say I give in that it's called How to Host a Naked Party, but in that article I go through a couple of different like clothing optional experiences that I've had.
Yeah.
And one of them is called the Naked Bike Ride in Philadelphia, which happens every September. Highly recommend, because you go on this beautiful tour of all these historic sites in Philadelphia, and it's clothing optional. So you see people's bodies, all shapes, sizes, backgrounds, whatever, you know, like it's really a self-accepting kind of really, I feel like empowering experience.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically when I hosted this naked party at my house, that basically the first people to arrive were like a couple of my other female friends, and we had body paint. So we were painting like rivers and like mountains all over each other, and it was like so wholesome.
Yes.
So that's one of the main tips that I have, is that a lot of these kind of like, you know, play party spaces or whatever are often founded by men, and unless you have like a critical mass of females, you're never going to feel comfortable as a female in one of those spaces, you know. So the fact that it was like me and my housemate hosting it at the time, it went really well. I had a really fun time, and obviously I had to be butt naked because like as the host I couldn't be, you know,
can't be fully clothed
myself up at all. So yeah, it was really beautiful though. And I will just add like one detail that is really funny is that we're so good at mirroring other people, right? So if you walk into a room and there's 100 naked people and you're the only one wearing clothes, you just will immediately feel so uncomfortable that you'll just rip off all the clothes, because you're just like, you don't want to be, right, the odd man out in a huge group of people. So again, you reach that critical mass of naked people, ideally with a lot of females in there as well. And then as a new person joins, they're going to feel like, oh my God, I need to take off my clothes immediately, because otherwise I'm going to be the odd man out. So
I love that. And your guest, I'm assuming that they had a great experience as well.
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, I should ask my friend. Yeah, you know, it's like it was a really fun thing to be able to do. But the painting the mountains and the whole female experience part at the beginning was just like, wow, we're doing something a lot cooler than I had expected at the time.
Absolutely. Well, I've always been intrigued by like body painting parties or places where you do body paint, or festivals. I guess there's a lot of festivals where you do just body paint only. So bringing that into your own and you're creating a safe space, right? It's bringing like-minded individuals together in a safe space. Nothing sexual that's taking place, right? It's just truly gathering of friends and like-minded individuals to just enjoy one another and enjoy one another's company. Just clothing optional.
I haven't written about this yet, but I accidentally just took part in a massive nude photo shoot, which was a complete accident. So my friends in Mexico City are incredible artists, musicians, and everything. And my friend Gigi invited me to this incredible old school, like kind of a conferencey. It's basically an abandoned house that they've turned into like an art exhibition space.
Oh, cool.
And so when I got all the way there, they like they put us in this room, and they were like, okay, you're gonna lie this, and this way. And then they're like, okay, like go take off your clothes. And I was like, what? So, I didn't realize this.
We didn't mention this.
Yes.
He's not my friend, but the photographer is called Rob Woodcocks, and he specifically focuses on beautiful, like, you know, dancers and ballet dancers, but everyone's like wearing nude tones, or they're just full on butt naked. And so yes, I hope to share some of those images eventually, because it's really, really beautiful. And we had all different kinds of women. It was only women in those events. But there's this one where eventually later in the day, I would lay upside down on this staircase, like butt naked again, for like a good half an hour, and I was so uncomfortable the whole time. But those images, totally worth it. Like
yes. Because you have to hold it until we capture the shot. So don't move.
Exactly.
Yes.
But anyway, shout out to Rob Woodcocks and all my amazing creative designer and musician office friends in Mexico City. I'm super, super grateful to have my community here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What a great experience to just happen.
Oh my gosh.
Like that was not something that you had planned.
Yeah, and I'm planning on like buying, there's a bunch of them that I'm in. Like I know which ones of the images that I'm in. So I'm planning on getting like full blown up print versions of them and like framing them in my house.
In your home.
Yeah, but I already have a lot of art on my walls, so I don't know where. I don't
So
know where
you'll find a space.
I was going to say make room. These are
Yeah.
this is one of the things that you make room, right?
Yeah.
Because it becomes a conversation piece for visitors that come over as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good for you. I love that. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
for our guests that are interested in that space, because that's, I mean, you happen upon it, you obviously are comfortable in that space, but talk to us a little bit about like the environment, the conversation, kind of the emotions for folks when entering into a space like that, because I think that's a big, I think it's a big task just for the lifestyle that many of us have grown up with if we've not been exposed to that.
Yeah, totally. I think again, it depends on who is hosting these things. So I've also gone to more play parties, sex parties in New York through a group called NSFW, which again, I think is a really amazing space where you can explore with your partner and everything. But sometimes even in those rooms, right, it's like, unless you get that critical mass of females, as a female, I'm not going to feel comfortable in that experience.
Yeah.
So it's really important to just continue to go back to that and make sure that it's being hosted by people that you trust. And again, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. But I also find like, kind of like festivals, there's some, folk festivals that I've been to in the woods, you can find pockets of these more like hippie people when you want to. And I even in Northern California in like the Russian River, I think I went camping with my friends there, and like people there are just like out and about with no clothes on, no big deal. So also climate is a consideration, I would definitely say. So like make sure you're in somewhere that's warm, somewhere that's nice. And another really beautiful documentary, which I think it's called like what are they called? Smoke Sauna Sisterhood. Really, really beautiful documentary about women in Estonia who, again, clothing optional or like no clothes in saunas is a really big thing in Scandinavia. But I really, really recommend those kinds of like really beautiful experiences with other women. And yeah, saunas, I think, are another area which I really, really enjoy just because of the physicality of it. And I feel, I don't know, you just feel really rejuvenated afterwards. So yeah, maybe try and find your local sauna where there's like clothing optional, like or women's only days as well, banyas, those kinds of things. I'm a big fan of like bathing in a variety of different ways and environments. And yeah, kind of go from there. So yeah, but just stay safe and only be with people that you want to be with, I would say.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, I love that you continue to bring these experiences to either your blogs or the podcast and maybe books in the future. So that's exciting. Yes. And any other how-tos that you're going to share on your Substack as well. We'll make sure that we tag your Substack for our listeners to go over and subscribe to, or just peruse and read and learn what you have going on.
Yes, for sure. Thank you guys.
I love that. Absolutely. So we've talked about the Miseducated Journal. That's on the horizon, something that you'd like to have done. We've talked about book 2 that's in the works, no pressure when it's done. In terms of where you're going and what you'd like to see for yourself moving forward, talk to us a little bit about that. What's next?
Oh my goodness. I mean, in addition to also the sex reports that I want to put together, the anonymized.
That's right. I forgot about the data. How did I forget about the data?
Yeah. I mean, again, any of these projects, I think it's good. And, as an entrepreneurial person, I try to just host a bunch of experiments, right? So again, with your listeners and their lives, it's like, okay, maybe not every single one of your hobbies or interests is going to turn into a fully fledged business. But that's where I'm hoping to start, at least adding the sex report in there as well. And another thing that I'm working on is basically helping women with self-promotion and that shamelessness aspect as well. So that's where maybe a business or consulting arm can kind of come into it, because I can say, hey, like you guys have expertise in XYZ. I've got my data skills. I've got my storytelling skills. I built this newsletter. So let's package and put together all your expertise so that you can present your best self on the internet and get over that like fear around self-promotion, I think, because a lot of women really struggle with that. So using that shamelessness piece. And also, I think what's funny is I was just talking about this yesterday with another girl who does like similar consulting work. And she was saying, well, why don't you make sex writing part of your offering, right, for your corporate clients as well? And I was just thinking that could be such an interesting aspect. So while I'm helping package all of your, your businesses and your expertise, like having that sense of shamelessly, or the shamelessly sexy aspect of it should also be included as a component as one of my offerings for my business clients. So I would love to see in, 2-3 years time, I would love to see plenty of like amazing, small business female clients or other like women in corporate tech, whatever, who want a little bit of spice to their personal brand, to be working with me. And then maybe my couple of books published, and then that annual like sex report that's coming out. So there's lots of exciting things on the horizon.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, and thank you for allowing me the space to like speak them into existence as well, because it does help when people ask you, hey, what do you wish you were doing in 3 years' time? And I feel like, I wish I had plenty of money and I was just, adding all these clients to my roster. So yes, that's
right.
what
Well, we'll have to have you back in 3 years.
Exactly.
You've accomplished all of this. And
yes, I hope so. Exactly.
I know. I would love to celebrate that. I mean,
yes.
Yes. And I have to agree with your friend that you met with yesterday, just in terms of the sexuality piece of the work, bringing that into your female corporate clients. Because I think we all know, like, sexuality, sensuality, especially for women in that corporate space, is suppressed tremendously because there's quote unquote not a space for that, or not allowed, or it's frowned upon, or whatever the judgment, i.e. introduce the shame that comes along with that. And so we have these mediocre version of women that are showing up to fit into a box and suppressing a huge segment of who we are.
Yeah, who we are, exactly. And I think that's where the shamelessness aspect of it comes in, because it's, for sure, we don't have to be like telling our bosses or coworkers or whatever, like, this is how I masturbate. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. It's about bringing your full self. And women, we experience shame on so many different aspects of our lives. It could be like our hair, what we wear, how sporty we are, if we're like attractive enough, blah blah blah. And so I think addressing that specific some of the shame, right? Like not taking all of your shame away, but just working on a little bit of it, I think could be so transformative, and that could really help as well for that like business success, which is what we're going for. So
Love that.
I love it. That's exciting. I love all of the projects. I think that they are phenomenal. I already see it in existence, so I am excited to celebrate it for you and with you. This is great.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, thanks for asking me incredible questions as well. I'm like,
so much fun.
It has been a blast. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
I think we've talked about a lot, and you've really given me amazing space and time to just, again, open up to some of my craziest experiences, my most whimsical experiences. But I think, my main message for everyone is just, if you have a calling or an inclination of like what you want to do, just don't go to your grave with your stories inside of you, just go out there, do your thing. And being happy, very important. Like I graduated from the Wharton School, and I could be sitting in any office in San Francisco, Chicago, New York, whatever, making $300K at some private equity company, and I could be effing miserable. Or I could be writing teen romance fiction and exploring like the beautiful stories that help me feel alive, right? And so, yes, you are the light that lights the world, as Rumi said. So I really appreciate, I really wish the best for everyone who's listening right now. And all the career success for you in something that matters to you and makes you feel happy.
Oh, that's a perfect,
beautiful thing to end on.
Yes.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being transparent and vulnerable and sharing your own personal experiences and your journey, right? I think a lot of people see the end result. They don't realize everything that has led up to this. And you've had quite an impeccable journey. Thank the universe. Let the universe know you're good, filled. Yeah. We're going to just keep moving on with what we have.
I'm good with messages now. I've had my fill of input. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, we're good.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing. So congratulations on the book. We will make sure that we tag the book, tag the podcast and the Substack in the show notes so our listeners can check you out and get to know more about you. Thank you for the work that you're doing for our communities as well. Your impact is global. So really appreciate that. And of course, thank you for taking the time out to join us.
Absolutely.
Don't be silly. Thank you, Pamela and Natalie. You guys rock. I'm super excited and grateful to have been here today. So
much fun.
Fabulous. Wonderful. For our listeners, if you are interested in learning more about what's happening in the world of Reignite Resilience, head on over to reigniteresilience.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram. And until next time, we will see you all soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.